Hello, beautiful light-filled souls. Thanks so much for subscribing to my channel and for being a part of this experience the last 5 years of interviewing other near-death experiencers and sharing more of my story. Today, I'm going to answer some of your questions about the afterlife, about relationships, about oneness. I don't have time to respond to all the messages I get on various social media platforms and emails, but I do invite you to join my spiritual community. I give group healings, group readings, individual readings, and support people on their journey and believe that as a group, we can support one another and start creating the type of world where oneness, where unconditional love, and where energetic support is a part of that community. So, to some of your questions, I want to get to them as soon as I can, but I also want to alert you that if you follow me on Instagram, there is a fake account out there that is offering readings and scamming people's money. So I changed my name so that it's a little bit harder to fake. That real Instagram account is below. And please unfollow any of the fakes and report them, trying to get that taken down, because I don't like for people to be scammed. I don't like for desperation to happen anywhere on the planet. And I am all for sending good energy to creative people to win. I am one of these people that believes everyone can win and that we can support one another as a community. So, the first questions. There's a lot of confusion about love, and I get all kind of questions about that love in the afterlife. Well, it's very different, outside of body. When I had my near-death experience, I was deeply wounded, agnostic, had not even begun much of the recovery process from child abuse. And, my whole ego was built up around my brain, my studies at college, my body, who I was, and I was very self-protective and very much concerned about this physical journey. When I died, I was in that presence of unconditional love toward the end of the near-death experience. All of those wounds were washed away, and I felt loved exactly as I am. I did not need anything. So I didn't need any water. I didn't need anything from anybody. I was perfect as I am. And that is what I hope other people can grasp and understand, is that this is a concept that's hard to apply while in body, but outside of body, in that presence of the unconditional love of the divine, there was no need for anything. There was no need to come back here. And many near death experiencers talk about not wanting to come back here because we know this is a plane of duality and problems and struggle and feeling incomplete. But I didn't feel incomplete at all in that presence of the divine. And, when I go back in meditation, when I think about that moment, it gives me much strength in this lifetime, no matter what I go through, because knowing that that exists for me, for you, for everyone should give us a lot of relief. Now, how do you apply that here? And how do you even explain that love? Sometimes people are almost kind of caustic and rude, and they say love, whatever. I don't see any evidence of that. That's ridiculous. Nobody loves me, but all I've encountered is hate. Well, what I say to that is love is an energy, and it's an energy that you can choose, kind of a goodwill for all people. And one of the ways to do this is service. Everyone knows what love looks like. So I kind of scoff at people who are like, "Meh, love, what does that mean? And what planet are we on? What is this crazy rock that we're all on? And what is love?" Well, you see it when there's a boat that pulls up next to an animal that is covered in plastic, and one of the people in the boat takes the time to cut that animal out of the plastic, and you see the joy on that animal's face as it swims away, perhaps a seal or a bird. You see that that was done without any intent of look at me. I mean, perhaps if it was posted on social media, there was a little bit of that, but in general, there was just love for another creature, for another being. And when we give love in that way, without expecting anything, without, I do this for you, you do this for me, that kind of exchange, that's the love of the divine. That's the love of creation. It's creating a space for life. It's creating this joy for living. And that's what that energy of love is like. So when you serve others, you find that you're a little bit more connected to them. There's this oneness experience that can happen. And I know that it's hard to work yourself out of depression, but I promise that one of the best ways to feel better about life is to help others. You may not want to, like there's lots of programs of recovery that talk about this. This isn't new. I'm just simply trying to disseminate, what we can do here while in body that connects us to that flow of love and service. Many people who adopt animals that were going to be euthanized get so much joy and so much love from that experience when we help others without saying, look at me, or expecting anything for that service. It's just cumulative. And somehow it is etched into your soul. And I know this as a medium from talking to some spirits who were teachers or professors, because I know a lot of them. That's the field that I work in. When one dies, a lot of times I see this joy. And when they look back on their lives, the life review is really joyful because teaching gives you this opportunity to help so many people. Many helping professions do. So, nursing, teaching, not saying that every nurse, every teacher, is a saint by any means. I'm just saying that there's a lot of opportunities for touching lives in certain professions, and that the life review is somewhat joyful when we realize how we were a part of something, this greater cumulative movement. And there's great joy in knowing that we're a part of it because we're more than this body. We're more than our individual experience. That's what the oneness experience teaches us. So the more you do for others, the more energy of love and unconditional love is returned to you. Does that mean that you meet a great partner, or you have like a wonderful life and always just for your service? No, but it means that there is this energy of love that you feel more often in your life. It is returned in one way or another. We don't know how that is returned. And then on to the next subject. A lot of times young people from other cultures, people, all over the world write me and ask about relationships and what, the divine says about that. I'm not an expert, and I was only in that realm for a short amount of time. So some of this is just conjecture. But what I know is that human relationships, especially romantic relationships, are fraught with triggers of our past wounds. There's a lot to confront in the romantic relationship. I think it's harder to apply unconditional love to those relationships. It's easier to apply unconditional love to service, to helping animals, to helping others. But in the case of relationships, I think doing no harm is a good way to begin. So a lot of times people feel their ego is bruised if someone doesn't want them, doesn't like them. I've had several stalkers over the years, and men who are just mean because I don't want them. And that's not an energy of love. That's pure ego when someone doesn't want you and you want to harm them because they don't want you. That's creating more destruction for you, moving forward. That is like cutting yourself off from the divine in so many ways. It's harming you more than it's harming the other person, believe it or not, because it keeps you cut off from that flow of goodness, from that flow of creation. You're living in destruction in that case. And it is, nature is this balance of creation and destruction. And so it's better to create in the light, it's better to keep moving forward in the light and what you want. And it's important to protect yourself from predators. That is something that I talk about a lot, and I don't want to talk about too much in this video, but sometimes self-love is the most important thing that we can give ourselves. Not giving away too much of ourselves, but knowing that we are valuable, that God loves us that much, that God wants us with our original energy and our original soul intent to move out into this world and create goodness through that light. So when others try to take from that light or diminish it or hurt our self-esteem, it's not retaliation that gets our self-esteem back, it's protection, it's continuing to move forward. It's not giving too much focus to that side, just knowing that it exists and then moving forward in the light. So, what is love in romantic relationships? I think it's simplicity at times, just like the animal that someone saves in the ocean. I think it is just being kind enough to someone who is beside you and choosing not to cause them more harm, because every person on this planet is suffering. And that's one thing that is for certain. And the answer is always unconditional love. So on another note, I just have to say that, this platform is not here for me to do anything other than connect on this topic. I'm not out here to date anyone. I don't need anyone to ask me out. I don't, I'm not lonely. Like I'm a happy person. But this platform is for discussion. And I think people go way astray when they start thinking about certain topics because they connect it to the body and their experience here and they say that's all there is. Well, the near death experience is an experience out there, away from this physical form, away from this body. So, can you experience the oneness experience while in body? Certainly. But, can you sustain it all the time? I think near death experiencers who I've talked to and people who've had awakenings, you have these moments and they're just beautiful. The more you pray for everyone to end their suffering, perhaps the more you can feel that, the more you're just lucky enough to meditate a lot, to do a lot of yoga, be in this state of bliss, and then just feel this connection to all people, this lack of judgment and this well wishing for others. One thing that I think you can do if you don't want to pray for others is you can just send the energy of goodwill to all. And after interviewing so many near death experiencers, I believe that most of us do have that energy, which is a little bit different from this world, which can be incredibly competitive, have that energy of competition. Well, I'm better at this and this person is, and my ego's wounded, so I need this. The well wishing for others is really just this joy that others exist and this hope that they find everything they want. And even the people who have wronged you to a large degree, like I'm still able to wish well for people. I just wish them well really far away and don't ever contact me ever, like ever, not even in a fake name, never, but I can still wish well that everyone is happy, that everyone suffering is diminished as they learn to be better, as they learn that we're connected to the all, that what you do to another person eventually harms you. So don't do it. Don't cause harm. That's the main thing. And that's the furthest thing from that unconditional love of God, is doing harm. So I'd say do no harm. Like just etch that into your soul, tattoo it on yourself, and then from that, try to be kind. There's a lot of talk of kindness, that choosing gentleness, kindness, patience, not jumping to conclusion, to understanding that your mind thinks thoughts that may be untrue, and giving people space to be themselves, that what you need from someone cannot trump what they need just to survive. And so giving people grace is part of that, but also not putting yourself in situations where your soul is withering or your soul is not getting what it needs, and learning to find situations that are happier, more peaceful, more joyful, and creating that in your world. So there's just certain questions I don't think I can answer from people, but I will do my best to answer this one about relationships. Often people say, well, does God say anything about human sexuality? In spirit, you really aren't eating and you aren't making love. These are things that are part of the body here. So in spirit, the joy of the spirit is something very different from the body. And so I think that soul connections are sacred. And what we choose to do here is sometimes mirroring that light of God on a higher level, and sometimes it's not. So sometimes it's purely just for the joy of being in the physical, and that's up to you. You know, like I think the more that you connect the spirit to eating, to your work, to your relationships, to making love, as long as you bring that light to everything you do, it's going to be better because of it. It's going to be deeper because of it. That when you start closing yourself off to that light, you know, then addictions can happen. And you know, the healing is being fully present for each moment of your life, being present to that love of God and really asking for those wounds that prevent us from allowing that flow of God to enter our lives. And I really hope that people will join my spiritual community, because one thing that I personally want to work on with people, and I don't know if I want to put it out here on YouTube, I might at some point, but I want to work on healing self-esteem through that love of God and through theta healing. I think that a lot of children, a lot of people who were abused in childhood just don't feel good about themselves. They don't feel worthy of all the things that they could feel worthy of. And that was one of the most important messages from Creator, was that I'm worthy, you're worthy, everybody is worthy of love. And what a great message. And I don't see how that can be so controversial. You know, like at a basic level, all I'm saying and all I felt from God is that I was deeply worthy of God's love, God's healing, God's grace, and so are you. So, to that note, I think I will end here and talk about these topics a little bit more in another video. But please make sure you subscribe to the right Instagram account so that you're not scammed. And please report that. And, you know, I send goodwill to the scammers as well. You know, may you find a way to use your creativity to make money and sustain your life. And may you feel worthy of real work in this world. That's what I have to say to these scammers that, you know, I don't like the idea of my name being used to harm people. I find that very sad. And so that's why I'm talking about this topic. But on another note, would love to have you join my spiritual community. Really appreciate the support. And I hope this talk helped in some way. May you be blessed.